What's going on, everyone? Chris from Pickdawgz.com here with the Wraparound. We're going to be breaking down the NHL action going down on Thursday, October 30th, 2025. If you're looking for my best bets, the games that I love, head to Pickdawgz.com. Click the Experts tab at the top of the page. For me today, it's going to be just NHL on the board. I have 5 plays from the NHL that I like today. My NHL power play, and as well as a 5-pack where that power play is included. So make sure that you jump on board. Remember to use the promo code PICK at checkout and get 15% off your purchase. We also have our Inner Circle VIP services. Now, they're not for everyone. They are for people that make big bets, people with big bankrolls who are looking to take their betting to the next level and are looking for that one-on-one concierge-style service. Now, you can call or text the number on the screen, but remember, this is our most expensive premium product, so just keep that in mind before texting the number. But if it's for you, it's an awesome product, and I can assure you guys you're going to absolutely love it. But we have an 11-game NHL card to break down here. We're back. Unfortunately, took a day off yesterday just because there was only one game on the board. Just need to sort of hit the reset button. But we're back now for an 11-game card, and going forward, we're going to be locked in. So let's not waste any more time. You guys know the drill. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's get into it. Our first game takes us to the Xfinity Mobile Center, where the Philadelphia Flyers take on the Nashville Predators. And for me, the Philadelphia Flyers are a team that's really sort of exceeded my expectations for them coming into the season. I mean, this was a team that I really did not expect all that much from coming into the year. And I was critical of them coming into the year, where I said that this was going to be a team that, I thought was going to be one of the worst in the East, because I didn't think the tandem of Samuel Erston and Dan Vladar was going to be a viable 1-2 option in goal for them. But they're 5-1 at home this season. The Nashville Predators are back to looking like the Predators of last season that were a wild disappointment, and a team that really struggled on the road. They're 1-2-1 so far on the road this season. I think that the Flyers can get the job done at a reasonable price here, especially at home. So give me the Flyers in this one on the money line. Next, we're heading to the Benchmark International Arena for this game between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars. I did like the favorite in the last game. I like the underdog here. I like the Dallas Stars and the plus money. I just think this is a spot where these two teams are not as far apart as this line would suggest. If you came into this line and told me of two teams that have won 3 games in a row, and it's a minus 110 on both sides, maybe minus 115 because you value home ice for the Lightning. Cool, but we're talking about now minus 145, minus 150 for the Lightning, and the Stars getting a healthy amount of plus money on the take back, plus 130. I just think the Stars are a better team than this line indicates. Like I said, both teams have started to really put it together in some of their recent outings. You have the Dallas Stars putting up some great defensive numbers. The offense could stand to be a little bit better, but I still think that this is a spot where Dallas is 3-1 on the road this season. I think they're getting a great price for some value here, so I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars in this one. I'm going to take them on the money line. Now we're going to the Canadian Tire Center for a game between the Ottawa Senators and the Calgary Flames. And, I just think this is one of my least favorite games on the board. But for me, it still goes back to the point that I just don't think that there's any value in backing the Calgary Flames right now. I think the Ottawa Senators, despite their issues, especially at the defensive end of the ice, are still the better team in this game. And we saw, they got blitzed by the Chicago Blackhawks on the road, but prior to that, they had scored 7 goals in back-to-back games. Calgary, they just took a loss to Toronto on the road. They've lost 9 of their last 10 games, and defense is an issue for this team as well as offense. I mean, when, the Flames were winning low-scoring games last year, it was because the goaltending was stepping up, but now they don't have that luxury, and I just worry that this is going to be a recurring theme for the Flames this season. I don't love the price with Ottawa. That's why it's only a lean for me here, but I would go with the Senators on the money line in this one. Now we're going to the TD Garden for this game between the Boston Bruins and the Buffalo Sabres. And again, another matchup where I kind of went back and forth on it, but the Boston Bruins, while they've been up and down this season, they have won back-to-back home games against 2 really solid lineups in Colorado and the Islanders. They started to shore up the defense as well. My concerns are more so when they go out on the road, but same thing can be said for Buffalo here, who have yet to win a road game so far this season. 0-2-1 on the road out of the gate. And like I said, we've already seen them lose in Boston earlier this season in a 3-1 loss. I think that we could see something very similar here. So I'm going to be going with the Boston Bruins in this one on home ice. Again, not my favorite game on the board, but this is actually a decent price for Boston, all things considered, in this matchup. So give me the Bruins in this one and take them on the money line. Now we go to this matchup from the Lenovo Center, where the Carolina Hurricanes take on the New York Islanders. And to be fully transparent, I go into a lot of these games kind of just looking at it, without any lines and seeing if, I can kind of gauge where lines are going to be. And this was a game that I was surprised that it opened at 6 for the total. I like the under here a lot. I think this is, a first to 3 wins kind of game. You still have solid goaltending on both sides. Now, yes, the Islanders have been an extremely over team this season. I believe they're 8-1 to the over in their 9 games this season. But this is still, for me, just like I said, sets up to be like a 3-2, maybe a 4-2 kind of game, especially if you can get a 6.5 out there. I think it's going to be lower scoring in this one. So I'm going to go with the under in a lean between the Hurricanes and the Islanders. Now we're going to the Canada Life Center for this game between the Winnipeg Jets and the Chicago Blackhawks. And, I think this is another one of those spots where the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be competitive. I've said it before. I will stand on this, this hill that I think the Blackhawks, they may not win a ton of games this year, or at least, enough to maybe make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be extremely competitive this year. I think they're going to be in a lot of games, and we've already seen it this year with a great puck line record in the majority of their games as the underdog. The Winnipeg Jets deservedly are a huge favorite here. They're 7-3 this season, but we've seen Chicago go in and take down some big teams this season. We've seen, Chicago beat Tampa Bay. We've seen, them do damage against teams like Ottawa at home. They went on the road and beat St. Louis. They had 1-goal games against Boston and Florida. And you look head to head, even when Chicago was a lot less competitive than they have been this season over the last couple of years. 5 of the last 6 meetings have been 1-goal games, including a 4-2. There was also a 4-2 game back last season where it was 3-2 going into the final 2 minutes. So Chicago just has a knack for playing Winnipeg tough, and I think they could here as well. Give me the Blackhawks in this one, plus the 1.5 goals, maybe a little bit on Chicago money line. Now we're going to the Enterprise Center for this game between the St. Louis Blues and the Vancouver Canucks. And a game where I kind of just don't understand why the St. Louis Blues are favored here, or at least by this much. They've been getting crushed. They've lost 5 games in a row. They've given up a combined 24 goals in their last 4 games alone. And St. Louis this season is just 1-4-1 at home this year. The Vancouver Canucks, a 500 team on the road this season. They have dropped 4 of their last 5, but they've been highly competitive, and I think that this is just a spot where I want plus money with the Vancouver Canucks. Maybe it's a fade of the St. Louis Blues more than anything else, but I'm going to roll with the Canucks in this one on the money line. Now we're going to the Grand Casino Arena for this game between the Minnesota Wild and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And again, another game where I don't understand why the Wild are so heavily favored as much as they are. The Pittsburgh Penguins have still been a really solid team on the road. I get it. Maybe folks are waiting for the other shoe to drop with the Pittsburgh Penguins, saying that they can't continue this run. They're 6-0 on the puck line on the road, 4-1-1 straight up. But the Wild have been atrocious at home this year. 1-2-2 straight up at home. 0-5 on the puck line. And I'm not backing this price or backing the Wild at this price just because it feels like they're due. It feels like this price is more reminiscent of past Minnesota Wild teams that have been a lot more competitive than the current form of the Minnesota Wild. I just don't think the Minnesota Wild have it. Maybe this is just a down year for them. So I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Penguins in this one, plus the 1.5 goals. Put a little bit on Pittsburgh money line as well. And I think that, like I said, I think could go so far as to say maybe the wrong team is favored here. Now we're going to Rogers Place for this game between the Edmonton Oilers and the New York Rangers. And, I've been critical of the Edmonton Oilers, in recent games, but I don't think I'm going to have to be here. I mean, the New York Rangers are the team that deserves the criticism in this one. I mean, it's the team that, yes, has been better on the road, 4-1-1 straight up on the road this season, but goal scoring continues to be an issue for this team. They scored 2 goals or less in 6 of their last 8 games. Edmonton broke out of their slump at home by beating up on a really solid Utah Mammoth team. We started to see them string the wins together at home. They've won 3 straight at Rogers Place. And I just think that in this spot, the Edmonton Oilers find a way to get it done. They are right now feeling like the better team, or at least the team playing better hockey in this matchup. So I'm going to roll with the Edmonton Oilers in this one. I'm just going to take them on the money line. Now we're going to the SAP Center for this game between the San Jose Sharks and the New Jersey Devils, a rematch of a game that we just saw not that long ago that ended up being a 3-1 win for the New Jersey Devils. And it was a game where I had the San Jose Sharks plus 2.5, plus 1.5, and even on the money line in that game. And, only the plus 2.5 came in. But, the Sharks were competitive in that game, especially on the defensive end of the ice. But the offense was still lagging behind. I still worry that's going to be the case here with the Devils still playing some really solid hockey. But on the other side, you do have the Devils who, have played in some lower scoring games. And I think this is just going to be an under just because of a lack of offense on both sides. Like I said, I could easily see another 3-1 kind of game here, maybe 3-2. Maybe just a game where the Devils just go through the motions here and just do what they need to do to just get in and out with a win, not necessarily, worry about running it up on the Sharks here. So it's a lean towards the under for me in this one. And our final game from Thursday's card takes us to the Crypto.com arena where the Los Angeles Kings take on the Detroit Red Wings. And to close it out, we have the theme for today's wraparound, which basically overvalued home favorites. And I think that the Los Angeles Kings fit that mold as well. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record for those of you who've been watching the wraparound religiously, but I stand by it. The Kings for me are a team this season that's going to go through some major defensive and goaltending regression in 2025. I don't see them being able to be competitive in a lot of the games like they were last year. I think this is a game where a season where you're really going to see the Los Angeles Kings take a step back. The Detroit Red Wings, on the other hand, they've been really solid out of the gate. I think this is a Red Wings team that can definitely do some damage when called upon. And I think that we're looking at a fairly high-scoring game, but I think that the Red Wings pull it out here. So I'm going to go with the Detroit Red Wings in this one. I'm going to take them on a money line to round things out. That's it. That's all your NHL action for Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Again, if you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. Let me know your NHL picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily NHL power play or any of the plays that I have on the board for this week, make sure that you head to Pickdawgz.com and remember to use the promo code PICK at checkout and get 15% off your purchase. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys.